I'm Rob Spears.
And I'm Brenda Michaels, and we're here with Jim Self, and we've been talking about the shift that is happening and expanding rapidly in this year of 2012, folks. And Jim, I set up a question for you going into the last break, and that was the perception of creating. We've created perhaps a 3D consciousness in the fear, in what we call fear, because there's been a lot of talk in the metaphysical world for years between fear and love. And the question I'm asking is, was 3D consciousness basically created in fear? And is fear going to be part of the 4D consciousness, experience and 5D experience?
Well, fear is very much part of the 3D world. Mm-hmm. Fear is something you see every day. Fear is something that the media simply thrives on. They don't talk good news. They basically tell you, watch out for something that's going to jump out of the dark and bite you. And so we've become so conditioned to this 3D fear level that you don't even recognize how conditioned you are into fear. And so fear is something that it's an ignorance. It's a frame of reference that is generally unfounded until you hold your attention on it long enough to where you draw it into your own reality as you think it. But as a concept, fear it's like a darkness in a room, and the minute you turn on the light switch, there's no more dark in the room. And so fear is absolutely an illusion until you hold your attention on it and manifest it as your reality. Remember that law of attraction we've talked about so many times is what you put your attention on, I, the universe who adores you, will provide for you. It doesn't say just give me the good stuff.
Right.
So if you dwell on my life is terrible, the universe wakes up with you the next morning and says, wow, she really loves this life is terrible stuff. Let me give them a little bit more. So the universe doesn't discern whether this is good or bad for you. The universe just simply says you're the creator. So we have been fed so much in this third dimension, particularly through the media, that fear is what we need to pay attention to. But that's what the shift is all about. That's the little black checkers that are being stripped off the board, and you're beginning to see more and more choices. But one of the challenges is that we have these habits, and the habits continuously flow as in automatic. And so even though the source of the fear many times is gone in somebody's reality, the habit of the belief continues on. That's the part that we are all beginning to bump into now as this 2012 unfolds, because the core of the source of many of these structures in the third dimension is being stripped away. Yeah. So that's your fear side. The love side is a very complicated side to a great extent, because in the third dimension, we only have a very tiny little bit of understanding about this gigantic word, love. We understand love as an emotional string, and it really comes in three parts. There's the part where I love you, my spouse, my child, and there's a particular feeling in that. There's an intimacy in that. Then there's another strata of love where it's I love you, my best friend. I'll do anything for my best friend. It's not intimate. It's not sexual. I love this person. It's a different vibration, but it is of love. And then there's a third kind, and that's the kind when you see the little puppy dog jumping up and licking the face of the little 2-year-old, and everybody goes, oh, that's really cute. That's your love for humanity. And that's a very real love, but that's the love that the fear level kind of constantly strips away. It creates a vibration that puts us in competition with that level of love. I can't love you. You might take my job. And so that's what's being stripped away, that aspect of fear about relationships in love, in understanding, in co-creation. As we go into these higher dimensions, fifth dimension is really where you want to focus. Fourth dimension is a stepping stone. But fifth dimension, words like safety and trust do not exist in the fifth dimension. There is nothing that is unsafe, and there is nothing to distrust. In the fifth dimension, the structure is built on co-creation and cooperation and well-being and dignity and respect, integrity, uplifting, nurturing, gratitude, appreciation. That's the framework. That's the box of the fifth dimension.
That's very, very interesting.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense. Our earlier discussion being it starts with the realization of you are okay. It's not possible for you to not be okay. And then, Jim, as we've been hearing about for years, people are starting to get a little clear now on what it means when they've been talking about this whole concept of quantumness, of quantum thinking, of quantum theory, and that they're starting to get that what that really means in our lives is we get what we expect. Mm-hmm. And when we start moving into these fourth and fifth dimensional concepts and constructs, as you're talking about them, we can see that our world is different. It's kind of like in the 60s, it wasn't available to us, but we kept saying things like, well, what if they gave a war and nobody came? But it didn't quite settle.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is now this is not only possible, but it's happening.
Yes, it's happening. It's happening very, very rapidly. But here, let me go back to one piece, the question of what is the shift. The shift is very much in your control on one level, and again, on the other level, you don't know how much I'm not okay we carry around in our backpack. But the universe does, the Creator does, the great beings of light do. And this shift is successfully unfolding in front of us. There is no possibility this shift will not happen. Now, but that's not a sale. I'm not selling that to anybody, because it's very easy for somebody to hear me say that and then go, yeah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. What about my house, my divorce, my kid with cancer, and I just lost my job? Mm-hmm. It's very hard to sell anything to that person. So this isn't a sell. This is just simply this shift, and the universe understands you can't continue to hold on to what you are not. And so that's being stripped away. The little black checkers in my example are disappearing off the board, and all the little red ones and white ones and blue ones and all the well-being and beauty and graciousness is unfolding. But it's still winter, and I'm explaining to you what spring's going to look like in May.